ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। Namaste to all of you. We say the topic of today's talk and discussion is uniqueness of Sanatana Dharma. Today, especially the modern times, is a time of constant improvement. It's a time of constant change. And in these times, things become obsolete very quickly. Like you buy something, and by the time you get used to with it, you get too familiar with its applications, within a few months, new product, lots of improvement comes to the market, and yours is obsolete. In those days, furniture, even clothes never become obsolete for 2-3 generations. I grew up going to university on cycle which was used by my older brother, and he used because his older brother, he got it because of the older brother. It never became obsolete. Today, there is a constant improvement in product, constant change, and things become obsolete very quickly. As Pujya Swamiji would say, it is like hit song. That was his Vipatti, ingenious as he was all the time. The song is called hit because when it came to market, it hit out the previous one. It hit, or just to clarify, create a verb, it hitted the previous song out of the market and became sovereign song. And either way, after some time, new one will come and this song will get hitted out in the market. So it is called hit song. Everything is like a hit song. But we should know certain things don't change. And certain things change constantly, and you can say it changes faster today. Like simple example, you may, our typical Indians, Nova Indians, going there and eat with a fork and knife. But that you eat rice has not changed. All the forefathers ate rice and you are eating rice. Even that can change. But certain things with reference to human being don't change. And that doesn't change, has not changed, is problematic. And the solution is in our dharma, therefore it is called Sanatana Dharma. Please understand why it is Sanatana. Sanatana means what is taught in Sanatana Dharma is valid today, is equally, not even valid, equally required or necessary today, as it was during Mahabharata Kala or Ramayana Kala or even before that. Manu Raja, it is same. What doesn't change? You see, certain emotions, certain attitudes, certain emotional issues don't change. Certain attitudes don't change. Like jealousy. Like we say, Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma. Rama is embodiment of Dharma. You can say, Duryodhano Vigrahavan Asuya. He is an embodiment of jealousy. Ravana is embodiment of Kama. Dhritarashtra, embodiment of love, or you can say attachment for son. These are all natural emotions. That is there since time immemorial. These have also not changed. That human being somehow takes Ishvara to be away from himself or herself. By birth. It may be any time except Vedas. Any new religion comes, they take Ishvara sitting somewhere else. It has not changed. And the fundamental problem of human being, not only emotional but certain attitudinal problems, they also don't change. Certain attitudes like exploitation of weaker, holier than thou, these are there since time immemorial. And being a self-conscious being, there is a self-judgment. This is a human problem. What is human problem? What we call it as a fundamental problem. Each one of us has our own picture of successful living. Each one of us has our own picture of ideal I. The multifaceted I. Husband, brother, sister, cousin, citizen, professional, all. In every aspect of my personality or every face of my personality, there is an ideal picture. And because of that picture, certain ends become important. One may have a picture that I have to go, I can be successful if I can go to US. I'll be successful if I get citizenship. I get successful if I get this job. I can be successful if I get married to this person. All kinds of ends are there. That subjective efforts to reach the ideal picture is called Purushartha. And there is always a space between the obtaining I and the ideal successful I. And the irony is, if at all one reaches to that in a given area, to that ideal I, that benchmark is further extended to some other limit. Again, the space is created by oneself. One finds oneself never achieving or reaching out or completely filling up the picture in terms of perspectives. And therefore, one is feeling, I have not made it. Even if I make it, suppose you become the most powerful person, the richest person, I want to extend something more. I want still more. That is the human life. This picture needs to be looked into from a bigger or larger perspective. Like those wide angle lenses. If I can see myself from the wider perspective, what is too big today becomes smaller. And the problems caused by something which is too big, too important, thereby they become important and big problems. They also become small. This Sanatan Dharma, I would say, cuts the thing to the size. And the one who doesn't have this vision, one who doesn't know, one who is not exposed to the vision of Sanatan Dharma, blows the thing out of proportion. And in a known jargon, I would say, who is samsari? Who keeps on blowing up the things out of proportion. Who is seeker? Who cuts the thing to the size. Who is siddha? Who knows there is no size. It is all mithya. Who is samsari? Who always lives in his or her subjective world. Subjective values, subjective ideals, subjective attitudes. Seeker is the one who is relatively objective. Seeing the world subjectively means seeing it is from the glasses of ragadveshas, from your own picture, your values, your ideals, your attitudes, your notions, your upbringing, your vasanas, all this. Seeker is the one who is relatively objective. What we call it as a vairagya, what Swamiji used to call as a maturity. And ultimate objectivity is to discover Purnoham Asmi, or to discover that it is Nehananastikij. That is why it is Sanatana. The human problem, both at relative level, the mind is always fraught with conflicts. That Mahabharata war is always on here. Anywhere you go, in any situation you face with, there is always a conflict. Either to be or not to be, to do and not to do, etc. It goes on. That is universal. It has nothing to do with faith. It has nothing to do with your nationality or sex or age or, in our jargon, caste and creed. Nothing. And further up, the fundamental thing also is again universal, not conditioned by time, place, situation, objectivity, nothing. Therefore, dharma, since it provides solution, therefore it is sanatana. Please understand what is dharma. In certain culture, there is certain wisdom is missing. And since the wisdom or concept is missing, they don't have a word for it. like this internet and Wi-Fi, etc., is discovered in the Western world. They call it Wi-Fi. Now tell me, what is synonym in Tamil or Gujarati or Punjabi or Haryanvi or Bengali of Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi. In Gujarati or Bengali, in Tamil or Punjabi, you have to, it is always Wi-Fi. Internet is internet. We don't have had a concept, and so we don't know, we don't have word. Even I can tell you about uniqueness, about culture, we don't have a concept of divorce. We don't have a word. They have coined in every regional language, but it is not correct word. Similarly, the Western world whose mother tongue is English, they don't have a concept of dharma. And they translated it as religion. And if I say we bought it, like American jargon, we just swallowed it. But the word religion has to do with the faith. And meaning of the word dharma is much more beyond faith. To believe in a given form of a god or a given god, to believe in a given scripture, to follow certain forms of a given scripture, have some chinhas, lingas on the body, that is what they call it religion. That's not dharma. Our definition of dharma, yato abhyudaya nishreyas siddhi sadharma. That by which you gain the prosperity here and hereafter, and the ultimate purushartha is discovered, namely the moksha, that is dharma. Or we use the word dharana dharma. I say, Chanakya has also defined dharma. Sukhasya moolam dharma. Jaimini gives a different definition. Chodana lakshano dharma. In Dharma Sutras written by Jaimini. Vyasji wrote Brahma Sutra, Patanjali had Yoga Sutra, Naradji had Bhakti Sutra. Different context, but all mean the same thing. Dharma is not just a set of belief. Dharma means, if I use our word, Sanskrit word, kartavya karma is dharma. That which I am expected of to do. That action is called dharma, not belief. A given belief is not necessarily dharma. That they have coined and we accepted it. It's a religion. But the meaning of the word is, dharma is what is expected out of me to do. And it has two types of dharmas that is talked about. Samanya dharma and Vishesha dharma. Samanya means universal. Nothing to do with nationality, etc. means the values, ethics. Vishesha dharma, depending upon your position and relationship. In one word, we call it as Varnashrama dharma. If I happen to be a brother or a sister or a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter, etc., it's a specific kartavya to that particular person. And when one lives a life of dharma, one becomes a human being. This religion, they are taken as the address. When I attend such conferences across the world, every year I end up 2-3, and they say, leaders from various faiths. That's how they address us. We are not faith-based religion. If at all religion is this. And our Supreme Court has said, and it is a very popular belief, again, rather than Sanatan, there is a Hindu Dharma. Hindu Dharma is a way of life, which is also not true ultimately, in a way true. I would say this uniqueness of Sanatan Dharma, I would put it this way, it is vision of truth. Therefore, when they have satsanga, and at the end of the satsanga, they do this Jaikara, and they say, Boliye Satya Sanatana Dharma ki jai. Satya Sanatana. Vedas reveal the truth. Now the question comes, truth of God. The answer is truth of everything. Truth of all. And that all, just to explain us, is divided into three categories. What we find over here, we find that we see there is a world which is full of people around, the experiencers who experience the world, the subject, and there is an experienced world, and there is one who created this experiencer and experienced. In other words, Jiva, Jagata, Ishvara Satyam. That Satyam of Jiva, Jagata and Ishvara is Satyam of all. And our Dharma tells, one way of saying it is, it reveals the truth. Therefore, we have a word darshanam. We hardly use the word dharma. We say Vedanta darshanam. We say Sankhya darshanam, Nyaya darshanam, Vallabh darshanam, Ramanuja darshanam, Nimbarka darshanam, Yoga darshanam. This Bharat Bhumi was a Bhumi of knowledge, talking about the truth, revealing the truth. Darshanam. And if I have to put it in one sentence, what is darshanam? What is the vision of the truth? That vision of the truth is whatever is non-separate from Ishvara. Or I would say, whatever is manifestation of divinity. Are you is? You have to say, yes, I am is. Do you exist? Yes, you have to say, I am is. That means you are non-separate from divinity. You don't say you are sinner, born sinner. That argument is so childish. I don't know. They have to be nowadays, people have to be politically correct. So they can't say this. Somebody committed, that original person committed a sin, and if you are born to parent, that you have original sin with you. It cannot stand in any court of law across the globe. This is in law jargon called vicarious liability. It doesn't hold. We had to have Dawood Ibrahim's family living in Bombay. Though he is the most wanted person by government of India, but we cannot touch his family because he has committed crime. They are not party to it. So they are not responsible for it. How am I responsible for that Adam and Eve's crime? But original sin. Our vision is everything is divine. Manifestation of divinity. Therefore, and that vision permeates in our culture. We have purely religious culture. This vision is there in the culture. Culture has two aspects. The structure is such that you are led to discover that vision ultimately, or till you discover you have that bhava. As Swamiji would say, fake it so that someday you can make it. So for us, everything is pujya, to be revered, to be worshipped. We don't say he created man in his own image and then the word for man's consumption. No. And therefore, for them the world is consumer. It's a consumable thing. It is bhogya. Since it is bhogya, the world is market. They say this and I get hurt also sometimes. I read in the newspaper, they say, India is a great market. I am a market or what? I am not a commodity. It's a market. Because Jagat is bhogya. For us, Jagat is pujya. Therefore we worship rivers, we worship mountains, we worship birds, and we worship everything, including rats and snakes. And we worship Giriraj, Dharan Ki Jai, etc. Or Namaste Vayo, or even fire is worshipped. Tiruvannamalai, there is a worship. Mountain, why? And there is a Panchalinga. Akasha Lingam at Chidambaram and Vayulingam at this Kalahasti, Jambukeshwar, Jalalingam, Tiruvannamalai, Agni Lingam, Kanchi. There is Parthiva Lingam. Panchabhutas are also worshipped. Sun is worshipped because everything is manifestation of divine. And you too are manifestation of divinity. Then who is this so-called undivine? Who is this so-called ego or ahankara? That fellow is imposter born out of ignorance. When this is understood, the goal of human life, the picture of a successful living is to discover the divinity, to discover a fullness that is you. Discover the wholeness that is you. That is called moksha purushartha. And the means to gain moksha is dharma. The beauty of Sanatana Dharma is, or I will use the word dharma for want of this, where it's common, understood, is not only it clearly defines the goal of a human life, existence. As Pujya Swamiji would say, anybody having a head over a shoulder, all others are called tiryaks. Their head and the stomach and excretion is one line almost. We are like this. We have a head over shoulder. Some may not have any grey matter in over the head. That's their problem. But anybody having a head over a shoulder is essentially divine, and the goal is moksha. That means the ideal picture is fullness. That is what you want. Shastra not only clearly defines the goal of a human being, nothing to do it is with your creed or your belief system, your religion or your caste or nationality or time. And that's why any foreigner can come to India and study our Shastras. We don't ask them to take Yagnopavitam and get initiated into Dharma and do this Upabla, nothing. It is you. We are talking about you. Since that is a case, everything is manifestation of divine. You are essentially divine. There is a problem of self-ignorance, and the means to discover self-ignorance is the self-knowledge that is revealed only in our Vedas. That's a unique aspect of uniqueness. Nowhere. Just look at this. Where they say Hindus are about 80 crores, less than 1 billion in India. Now it is 80, 90 crores only. Demography has changed. Total population is almost 8 billion. That means only Hindus are 10%. Rest are belonging to different faith. They just don't know that there is something called Purushartha, called moksha. To be achieved here and now. To discover that you are full and complete as you are. So much so, Bhagavan says, Api chedasi papebhyo sarvebhyah papakrittamah. Na bhuto na bhavishyati papi. Sarvam gnana plavenaiva vijinam santarishyasi. You right now, here and now. They just don't know there is a moksha purusha. And that is a unique, and not only the goal is defined, the whole infrastructure is given. The lifestyle is given to discover this goal. In a traditional words, if I will use those words, that varnashrama vyavastha, our whole societal structure, true, for a want of rajyashraya, it is breaking. It can survive only when there is a rajyashraya, which we don't have, unfortunately. So it's gone, almost going. But still, the spirit is on. That is also being damaged now. What is the spirit of varnashrama vyavastha? The whole vyavastha was from brahmacharya to grahastha, grahastha to vanaprastha, vanaprastha to sannyasa. It was like assembly line. If you are here, then you will end up in sannyasa. And that's how great kings like Bharata, etc., they could take to sannyasa. They could take to vanaprastha. Even Dhritarashtra took to vanaprastha, would take it to vanaprastha. The whole structure can lead you over there. Not only defined and clarified the goal, ultimate end of the human pursuit, moksha, and the means to know, but to reach, to discover that this should be the goal. Mokshecha, to rise to mokshecha, mumuksha, there was whole structure. And that spirit of varnashram vyavastha, if I put it in one word, that is life of dharma. What is life of dharma? What is the spirit of dharma? To perform what we call it kartavya karma, or as they translate in English, duty. Commitment to duty. Commitment to samanya dharma and vishesha dharma. Nowhere in the world married life, you will find this is meant for dharma. Our marriage is not to discover companionship. Marriage is not to discover emotional and etc. compatible person. No. There is a word for husband and wife. Sah dharmachari bhava, sah dharmacharini bhava. The grahastha is also for dharmartha. We are the only culture where dharma itself is a purushartha. It's another unique aspect. Kartavya karma is purushartha. Like even today you find people doing that dharma as a son or a father. I have to bring up the children. I have to educate, especially most of you living in US spend a lot of money to educate children. When the child is bright and gets into Ivy League university, which doesn't belong to your state, and you pay for it. Then you leave it, whether he repays or helps or nothing. It's my duty. Dharma itself is Purusha. That shloka, Janmana Jayate Shudra, etc., I can put it this way. We are born animal men, physically men, but in terms of behavior, attitude, animal. What is the animal? It can think and conduct only and only for itself, nothing else. A dog or a puppy, when it grows up, it can think of itself. It would bark at its own mother and for a loaf of bread. Nothing. Can't think beyond the self. That's how we were all born as a child. Never shared our toys, never shared our food, nothing. That animal man needs to become man. Our Shastra teaches that you become a man when you follow a life of dharma. A dharmic person is therefore respected here. The person, it is only in India you will find he or she may not go to temple, may not go to a Swami, may not have some japa or upasana, even in his home, he may not do Sandhya Vandana. But very ethical, very righteous person, always honest and committed to duty, that person will get respect in the society. That's Indian society will give, because dharma is a purushartha. Vice versa, if doesn't follow the duty and doesn't perform his duty toward the parents, family, etc., living a life of compromising the values of honesty, etc., that person may be going to temple, may be going to Swamiji, may be doing charity, but that person will not be respected in the society. Dharma is a purushartha, that is another unique aspect of Sanatana Dharma. We do have Ishvara sitting in somewhere. That is because human mind can think only in terms of time and space. Human mind can relate only in terms of forms. And to connect, to bring in Ishvara in my mind, I need some form. To express emotion of surrender and love, you need some form. So we have forms. We have Rama and Krishna and Vaikuntha Loka and Golok Loka and Saket Loka and Kailash Loka, etc. Ganesha, everything. But two things. It is to bring in Ishvara in that individual who is a personality, person, identifying with the personality, the Jiva, ultimately needs to discover the formless awareness that is Ishvara. And therefore, here I would like to make it clear. Confusion that again we have bought, more so this Western world, people should tell their children. They say Hindus are idol worshippers. Hindus have many gods. There is not many gods. No, we have only one God. There is no one God or many gods. Look at this. With reference to this body, I am all pervasive. If one wants to express their emotions towards me of respect and reverence, can touch me any form. There are people in north, they put flowers here. Somebody may put garland here. Somebody may do chandanam here. I have seen sampradayas, they do chandanam here. They do chandanam here. Somebody may just give me a bouquet of flowers. Someone may touch my feet. Someone may do some half pranam. Someone may do shasta. Since I am everywhere with reference to body, I can be contacted or expressed anywhere. And everything comes to me. Like even when you want to do Ganga Puja, you need not start from Gangotare, Gomukh to Ganga Sagar. Just any ghat you do puja, it is to Gangaji. Ishvara being everything, all the forms are his expression. You can invoke him in any form. Why Rama and Krishna? Therefore we say 33 crores. Any form is Ishvara form. Because anywhere I am available, I am all pervasive over here, so all forms are his form. What's wrong in worshipping? And when you worship, this word itself is wrong. We don't worship idols, we are God worshippers. They have given us the word just to condition ourselves, and we bought it. Like Karma Yoga, act without expectation. Britishers created so that you keep working for them and you don't ask and don't revolt. We are right. Nobody worships. Human mind needs a carrier, a form to communicate the emotions. The Western world also has. Who doesn't? They have ring ceremony and the fellow kisses the ring. It is not the kiss doesn't go to the diamond of the ring or the gold of the ring. It goes to the beloved. I told this to Israelis also. In Jewish when we had a dialogue. When they salute the national flag, It is not to the peace of the flag. It is not for the patriotism. The salute goes to all the martyrs, to the national pride. There is a word in English, to transcend the flag. To the person who salutes, he transcends the flag. To onlooker, it looks like that he is doing salute to the flag, but he or she transcends the flag and the salute or respect goes there. Similarly, you, the onlooker, thought that we are worshipping idols. In a Hindu's mind, when he or she is pouring something Panchamritam or milk on lingam, it is not on the stone, it is Sakshat Shiva. We are not God idol worshippers, we are God worshippers. Because he is everywhere. To discover that, what a beautiful, this whole Bhakti Sampradaya is. Additional. To discover that, to get ready to discover the knowledge, there is an attitude that is told. Every sankalpa starts with this. Mamopata samasta duritakshay dwara Shri Ishvara Prityarthe Parameshwara Prityarthe Paramatma Prityarthe Idam Aham Karomi. Then all things Subhe Subhane Muhurte Bharat Mero Dakshine Parshe Bharat Vakande Bharat Varshe etc. goes on. Chaturvid Purushartha ultimately is this. They have given duty and attitude also. Attitude of Yadyat Karma Karomi Tat Shambho Tavaradhana. Or if you are a Vaishnava, Narayana Yeti Samarpaya. Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Boya Samarpaya. Everything, this attitude. Karma is done with duties performed with this attitude, readies you for moksha. And then you discover the need for moksha, the need for moksha, moksha, and then Guru Upasadanam, etc. rises. This is the unique aspect. And for that, there is a bhakti. Whole sampradaya, additional bhava creation. Please understand, bhakti is not an action, it is an attitude. To live in the awareness of Ishvara is bhakti. You may pour water, but that in the awareness of Ishvara makes it bhakti. You may clean the floor. A servant in the temple cleans the floor, and I have seen in India some of the grihastha, when they have temple in the home, the lady of the owner, the lady of the house may have 4 or 5 servants and drivers and the cooks and everything. But she herself cleans the floor of the room, puja room. That is cleaned in the awareness of Ishvara. That is becomes bhakti. A chef in the hotel may cook the food, but the lady of the home may cook the naivedyam. That becomes naivedyam. Cooking naivedyam is bhakti. Or our good enough preparing shira, that Satyanarayan Katha Prasadam is bhakti. So living in the awareness, performing in the awareness of Ishvara, that is being taught uniquely in our dharma. Last, since time is over, I'll just conclude with 2 things. They say Hindus believe in rebirth. It is not belief, it is knowledge. When you say Veda is a pramanam, and since it is revealed by Veda, it is knowledge. Till you discover, you believe it. Swami, that is called Shraddha. Puja Swamiji has a beautiful definition of Shraddha. Acceptance pending discovery. Till you discover, it is fact. And we have supporting logic also. What is supporting logic? That today, they say matter conserves itself. You cannot destroy totally any matter. Whatever amount of water is there, was there, and will be there. It's only conversion into potable and non-potable form. It is always same. They say energy is in one form or other. It is always same. The conscious being cannot be destroyed, one. And from non-existence, you cannot create an existence. And from existence cannot be reduced to non-existence. That is, Manduka Karika says this very clearly. So, if you say I am is, you were is. It's only conversion of a form. And if you are is in future. It's only conversion of form. And particles, listen this, particles get converted according to the law of physics. Chemicals get converted according to the law of chemistry. Human being after death is there according to law of karma. And the law of karma itself is called law of dharma. Since it is dharma, for us heaven and hell, going to heaven and hell, some religions describe heaven and hell, Swamiji would say, the description looks like a tourism brochure. They are talking about their heaven, such a beautiful way that you travel. The criteria for going to heaven is belief. Ours is your karma, what you do. And second thing, they go because of believers. Only faithfuls will go to heaven. And the hell is for non-believers. And they themselves have taken license on themselves that non-believers I can kill. Like our American government had passed the law. They can take action on any country where there is religious discrimination. Who gave you power? And when Modi was chief minister, they had come here to inquire. But who told you? It's a sovereign country. You have no right to do that. The commission was there. Anyway, so they themselves took away the power. And now unfaithfuls, we can kill them because they are kafirs. Don't say so. We are divinity. And for us, it is karma that will take you to heaven and hell. And they say you will go permanently. Our Shastra is very clear. Tadyatha iha karmachito lokaha kshiyate. Just as anything achieved here through karma, which is finite in nature, no addition, multiplication of finite numbers can produce infinity. This comes to end. Tadvat amutra. Tadyatha amutra also. Bhagavan in Gita, some of you know this verse. Kshine punye tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martilokam vishalam. Having gone to heaven, not only you come back, he says, Swargaloka itself is ephemeral. A brahma bhuvanal lokaha punaravartino arjuna mam upetu kaunte punarjanmane vidyate. Heaven itself is perishable. Indra, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Brahma is a position, not a person. You can achieve that position, like they say in international meet, Mr. President and Mr. Prime Minister. There is no one person. Anybody can become President and Prime Minister. You can become Yama, Guru, etc. Yama himself says, Janamyaham sevade nitya nityam nahyadrave prapyate anit nahya nitya prapyate nityam tato maya nachiketas chitogni anitya drave praptavan asmin. It's a position. Nobody gets citizenship in heaven, including all those Apsaras and Indra. Everybody is on visitor visa, no green card, no H1 visa, and forget about citizenship because Saroga itself is ephemeral. The simple logic also is not there in those dharmas. We don't believe, we accept karma. And since Ishvara is all is nothing is away from Ishvara, we can accept any form of worship. That doesn't mean that all religions are safe. That is another misconception. They sold it and we bought it. They are different. I accept your way of worship. That's fine. I accommodate. I accept it. Because everything is Ishvara. Nothing wrong in it. And any form of worship is acceptable to him. But that doesn't mean all religions are same, because the Gantavya, the goal is different, and the very vision about Ishvara is different. The whole problem in today's world is exclusivity about Ishvara. In this modern world, the fundamental problem of human being is felt so innately. Everyone feels, in spite of having all riches, there is, there's everywhere. I remember before 90s, I had not heard the word stress. And it came in India and everywhere, stress management, stress management. I was training before I got into Acharya Sabha. I had modules to teachers and students and corporate people and all that. So government of Gujarat asked me to give training programs to our collectorate and district DDOs and all people, classmen and officers and staff and all that. I said, okay, 3-4 districts I had to do that. So in this Rajkot district collectorate, I said, what's the topic you want me to talk? He said, Swamiji, stress management. And I said to them on the face, you know, all classmen were sitting. I said, you don't require stress management. You are stress giver. Public requires stress management. You don't need stress management. We don't know what is stress and all that. So, and secondly, the whole problem today is of exclusivity. My God is the only God, and my religion is the only religion. We are the only salvific religion, etc. That has created conflicts in the world. The worst conflicts and the maximum conflicts are based on it. We are all inclusive because everything is Ishvara. When they fight, only Hindu Dharma, Sanatan Dharma can save the world. Because the correct holistic vision. They have only partial vision. And that is a subjective vision. And then they say it is all revelation. That also you should know the difference. Everybody claims it is revelation. But those revelations are only a set of belief. And if I use Swamiji's word, they are non-verifiable set of belief. You don't know whether there is heaven. You don't know whether there is a God. You don't know whether you will go there. And even having gone, you don't know whether you are that promised eternal dinner you will get. You don't. It's non-verifiable. That Vedic revelations. Rishis didn't create mantras. Rishayaha na mantra kartaraha, mantra drashtaraha. We also say it is revelation, but it is knowledge available for you to verify it. You can say, yes, this is true. And we have a whole tradition. Narayanam Padma Bhuvam Vyasam Shaktim Chatat Putra Parasam, then onwards. Asmadacharya Paryantam, that vision, every student, teacher student generation communicated. There is a methodology also, parampara of teaching, unfolding the use of the words, the context. The teacher has to know both the subject matter and the methodology of teaching that is being preserved for millennia. And ours is the only dharma, it has no beginning. We are not person-centric religion. We are Veda-centric, Shastra-centric. All other religions are person-centric. Buddha started and Mahavira started and Jesus and blah, blah, blah. And now India also has now Gurudevs and people, person-centric organizations. Veda is a pramana. All different schools, what they call school or darshanas, they have difference in their interpretation of mantras. But I am proud to tell this, we were, nowadays there is a lot of problem, we were intellectually very honest people, available for dialogue. We had a scientific approach to the life. This is uniqueness. Shankaracharya and Mandan Mishra dialogue. I put my proposition, I put my siddhanta, I put you the hetu, etc. And you put it, and was willing to see my fallacy in my thinking and accept the truth of what you said. That's how Mandan Mishra became a sannyasi. Dialogue, parampara, shastra. That are the unique aspects world needs us today. In that Millennium Peace Summit, United Nations had organized in 2000 Millennium Peace Summit. After the World War II, United Nations was established to bring peace in the world. In 1951, in last century, two important integrating events, UNO and WHO, not WHO, UNO and this the business organization, it was there. They found, they were honest enough to see that we couldn't bring the peace in the world as much we could have. We were expecting. First time United Nations invited all religious leaders. All religion fellows. In India, Hinduism was the biggest contingent. Some 300 Swamis. And our Puja Swami Dayanji was the head of this whole contingent. Swamiji had to call some of the Swamis and take a training in Rishikesh. But these will be type of the hotels and this will be the type of functioning. Because the Mahatmas are not used to international conference. Allow Mike, hum bol dete. So he had kept them for 3-4 days in Rishikesh and talked the whole thing. So then these United Nations had given a project to Harvard. And the research of the Harvard is submitted to these religious leaders and said that please look into it and help us to find world peace. Unfortunately, it is there in Swamiji's speech also. Nobody looked at it. In the last century, maximum conflicts and war took place because of religion. And today also you see this because of religion. That is sheer ignorance about the facts, sheer subjectivity. And if we can communicate to them, they destroyed our temples because they thought we are idol worshippers. They kill people because they think you don't believe in us, therefore you are worthy to be killed. Subjective. Believe their system. And they convert people to save us. Who wants to be saved? That is called monkey business. You know Swamiji's story, that monkey business, and that is how the problem is today. And the most advantageous thing is, please understand, dharma can survive and grow when there is Rajya. These two most prominent or mostly followed so-called religions have Rajya, have state budget, state support, state laws. Even Judaism, such a small group of people, such a small country, hardly 7 or 8 million people. Out of that 7-8 million people, Jews are hardly 6.5 million. Rest are the Druze and Muslims and all kinds of them. But it is basically Dharma is Rajya. Judaism is supported. There are more than 64 countries, international Islamic organization, that organizes some 58 countries. We are secular. And secular means there is a reverse discrimination. And the governments that we had were not sensitive enough or not knowledgeable enough to see the beauty of the culture and religion and have passed nth number of laws and have neglected our forms and our dharma. Today we have a government who, the rulers of the day themselves know a lot of things. And they have open ears to listen, to do the things, to give a fillip, to give a push or to protect the dharma. It's a great opportunity we have. We need a Shashaka who is aware about our dharma and ready to support. Like some of the things that have taken place. Will have long effect. Now recently the Kashmir issue got resolved like this. Even now you will be surprised to know Puja Swamiji and I were the first person to request him for a road. In fact, we had requested the government to have a cogwheel train like Switzerland you have to going to hills. Then they saw there are some problems and they say, I'll build the road. Now the road is getting ready. You can just go to Badrinath and come back in a day. They are ready to protect the forms. They are ready to, the Gita Mahotsav has started in Haryana. They are ready to not only protect the form, and they are ready to and themselves know the spirit of it. It's a great opportunity that we have. I'm not talking, it may sound as a political statement, but I have learned this. Unless there is Rajya Shraya, Dharma is always at a receiving end. We should not marginalize the power of the state. However, individual efforts and NGOs can do work, but one state order or one state decision can change the whole blessed thing. And so, this opportunity that we have at national level and at global level, the world needs this. Conflicts are because of religion. Conflicts are there because I would call it intellectual dishonesty. Because of too much of emotional investment in their belief system. You have to open their eyes and make them see and change. World will be a wonderful place to live in. It is heaven today. I still remember my childhood. What was unimaginable is now available on fingertips. Externally heaven. Because of these all religious beliefs and things like that, we have made a hell out of, created a hell out of it. And if we can be a soldier, this is our Rishi Runam, twofold Rishi Runam, to propagate Dharma and support Dharmikas, that is Seva. This duty means contribution. The spirit of Dharma is to give, to share. And the modern culture is aggrandize and hold. Fortune 500. You have so much with you. We have riches outside, but we are miser here and share. So our fellow beings who are deprived, that is a dharma purushartha that we become contributory. It's a dharma purushartha that we contribute for dharmikas. And that's how all the acharyas, as Srini very rightly pointed out, the Acharya Sabha was established in 2003, and then offshoot aim for Seva came. All acharyas feel this is the teaching, this is the form that you have to hold on, and thereby you discover the need to understand the spirit, the adhyatma of it. This is a dharma. So Varnashrama structure is broken. So all of you, I request and I feel you should, when you have, form a habit to give out. In fact, our day-to-day life was contributing. You start every village as a bird feeder in India. Across, you go to Tamil Nadu or Punjab or Gujarat or Bengal, village as a bird feeder. And the head of the family will take food grains and give to the birds. Even today, if you eat food, before you eat the food, the first roti is given to cows and things like that. The farmers, the paddy when they rise, they give it to temples and brahmanas. First giving and then consuming. I would say first consuming, but when it is extra, better give. That's the best dharma today. And I pray to Puja Swamiji. He was a great giver. No, he was a real sense Swami, master to himself. But he had said this sentence. Somebody comes to seeking his help, he would say this. I always say, why did you help Swamiji? He doesn't deserve this like that. He had said this to me also. I had some punya to freedom like a son. I could talk to him. I still remember those eyes. Paramatma, you know, one thing I can't handle is my compassion. And therefore, true to his name, he was giver all the life. May he bless you with a will to become a giver, and may you reach the moksha purushartha. May you fulfill your Pitru Rinam and Rishi Rinam. In these words, Namaste.